Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm not gonna say it. What's up, everyone? I hope you can hear me. It's a little bit delayed over here. Hope everything's doing A-OK. It's me, Demetrius Villa, your host, president and founder of the High Speed Rail America Club. I am glad to see all of you on here. So glad that 2019, wow, whew, we are moving forward into this. So it has been a really great time. So hopefully let's get everything here on board and let's get started soon enough. All right, how is everybody here today? Is the sound okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear the music in the background? Got a little bit of music on here. Because funny little fact I learned about, did you know that 30% of what everybody sees on YouTube is music? Oh, that's what we got here. So yeah, we're talking trains here. Let's see who's in the comments over here. Hello everyone. Hello Type 40, Mystic Zorura. I do believe that's what your name is. Jackie Cabrera, I think your message was retracted. Don't know what. Type 40, sound is good. Okay, good. Thomas T Productions is here. All right, let's get started. First, I do want to touch up on something over here. I did make a prediction this year that Brightline would start building to Orlando, and guess what? They will start building in March, as it is called Virgin Train. So pretty excited about that. That is insane to be seeing so far. Brightline building over to Orlando. So that's going to be, again, that's the big thing that's going to be taking Brightline, Virgin Trains USA to the next level, and also American high-speed rail, transit, express rail, passenger rail, everything all to the next level. So it's going to be super exciting. Let's see what else is in the comments. Let me see. Nobody can hear the music, or okay. So maybe I can put that just a bit louder. All right. Are we getting tired of winning public transportation, Belgium? Hello, how's it going? All right. No, we're not getting tired of winning. It's been a great time so far since everything's been starting here with Brightline, and that's really been rolling along to the rest of the country. You see what's going on in Texas, see what's going on in California, and even in New York, too. We're going to be talking about that as well. That's going to take up, I believe, the majority of our stream. By the way, if you guys have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Also, be sure to subscribe and share this stream for people who are going to be really interested in seeing this stream, if they're interested in trains, interested in travel, transportation, science, technology. This would be something for them to watch. So like I said, we rebranded the channel from High Speed Rail America Club last year to American Rail Club. We're branching out to a lot of bigger things. We're still keeping High Speed Rail is still our big thing, because we believe that's going to be like the big face of transportation in the country. However, when it comes to everything else, I mean, what's really important when it comes to trains and transit is your urban transit, your intercity transit. That all feeds into a big, giant infrastructure system. Especially now with roads getting clogged up, you have induced traffic that's increasing the congestion in American roads especially. We cannot pave out all our cities to make roads everywhere. So this is going to be exciting to see. Let's check out in the comments whatever questions that we have over here. Thomas C. Productions, how do I predict this IRA God? I don't know about the grammar there, but I think that's a question to take to your local church. We're not that type of channel. We need more wins. We are getting more wins. We're doing exciting. By the way, if you guys seen the latest video we did on the Shinkansen, that was really interesting. Getting some really good comments on there, so that's been really good. It was really interesting to do that whole entire video and get that done. Now somebody's calling me, really? I don't know who's an anonymous caller, but hey, let's not take that call. Funny things that's happened. Let's see. Guess who's back? Oh yeah, your opinion on Metro North expansion using Amtrak rails in New York City. I've been reading a little bit into that. I think that's been pretty well so far, especially the increase of infrastructure in New York that's been starting, especially, I believe MTA has got in the Grand Central Terminal. They've already increased that. But let's go ahead and let's start moving. Well, before that, let's finish up some couple questions over here. Highcast Infrastructure. How you doing, Highcast? By the way, Highcast has a really good Discord channel. If you guys want to get into that, if you can put the link below, that would be great. I'll also put the link into the description of this video, so that will be pretty interesting. CTR Lead. Hey, Demetrius, what's the opinion on Elon Musk's boring gunnel? I think you mean tunnel, but hey, more like gutter at this point. It wasn't really, like I said, the media has overhyped a lot of this project, especially even calling it the Hyperloop. It's not a Hyperloop. It's just a tunnel with glorified Tesla on it, running on rails, basically, and it's not really doing much of anywhere. I mean, it was a great, I guess, experiment. Wasn't really much in terms of technology and in terms of actual infrastructure building, in terms of maybe decreasing the cost for tunnels, because that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, okay, it's going to be an exciting showcase and showing how we can decrease the construction costs for building tunnels. And it wasn't really anything about that. So, no clue about that. What is this buzzing sound? Anybody hear a buzzing sound? Let me know. Let me see. So, yeah, Elon Musk's boring construction tunnel. Not a big fan of it. Not a big fan of the Hyperloop. Not because of the technology, because, I mean, it would be great if we could travel that fast, but there's going to be another video I'm writing on that on the Hyperloop coming up this month, hopefully. Alright, let's get on to the main topic of the video. The L train. This this has been pretty funny. No, not too funny because it's affecting a lot of people. So, but it's, again, this is New York. This is what happens here, and the things that happen in New York when it comes to infrastructure is really messed up. So, for those of you who don't know what the L train is, I actually have a T-shirt that I got from Uniqlo when I was in New York a couple of years ago. By the way, I did go to New York in November to go visit family for Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar with the L train, see this gray line over here I'm pointing to? It's Union Square, 3rd Avenue. Should be, where's 8th Avenue? Should be here. Yeah, but this whole thing is the L train over here. It runs out from Brooklyn over into Manhattan. By the way, if you ever are in Manhattan or in Tokyo, Uniqlo makes some pretty good shirts. But you know who makes some really good shirts? We do also too, as well, in American Rail Club. By the way, if you haven't gotten it, Shinkansen shirts, still on sale. This is actually the one I took to Japan about a year ago. So it's really nice. They're really comfortable. Put the link in the description below. We're on Teespring, American Rail Club. It's final week for the sale that we have until we also start changing up the shirts into American Rail Club signage. So if you want your vintage high-speed rail American Club shirts, this is the last time to get them. So, on the L train. The L train, so we have the tunnel that was going to be, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Canarsie Tunnel to go from Brooklyn into Manhattan. This tunnel was already damaged during Superstorm Sandy back in 2012. And what the MTA proposed, they were going to propose 2 different projects to go and fix it up, because the Canarsie Tunnel was one of the 2 tunnels that really got battered from the storm. The whole thing was basically flooded up. All the wiring, all the power structure and everything else in there, all the tubing was all corroded from the salt water and everything that got into there. So here we are about, so 7 years later, in order to get this reconstructed. MTA gave out 2 different proposals. The first one was to close out the tunnel, one side of the tunnel, because there's 2 tunnels that go into the city. There's an in and out tunnel to go into Manhattan and Brooklyn. So those 2 tunnels, one of them would be closed off, and construction would take 3 years. However, the on tunnel that's going into Manhattan or into Brooklyn would be very staggered. Instead of regularly 3 minutes in between for service, it would be 15 to 20 minutes. So it would kind of cause more disruption and work wouldn't get done quite the right way. So the second proposal that the MTA proposed was to close off both tunnels for 1.5 years and then completely construct it 24/7 to get it ready for service with no delays, make sure that everything would be working perfectly fine. So that was going to be the plan. This has been worked on for years, that they've already gotten prepared. In fact, even the real estate over in Williamsburg near Brooklyn was one of the only real estate properties around the New York area to actually go down in rentals by like 1%, which is a big deal in New York because usually they don't even go down at all. So that was the only one that actually went in a negative because of this construction, and that people in that area would not be able to get to Manhattan for a year and a half. So now that this plan has completely changed up, and just this week alone on Thursday, Governor Cuomo just said, you know what? We're not shutting down the L train anymore. We're going to do a completely brand new project, which is everybody's been going, what? Because they've been preparing for this for the longest of time, mind you. Remember, they've been preparing to get this all closed off. They've been preparing to get this all constructed. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to go around. We're going to do a completely different plan, similar to the first proposal that the MTA did. So what on earth is going on? Even this, look at this video over here. This is one of the MTA board members, David Jones.
You can't have been quite as surprised as the rest.
This is how he said it.
Or were you?
Back. We learned just when you learned.
Wow.
And as a board member, this is really disconcerting. Clearly,
disconcerting.
Saying that, if this idea works, we're all for it. I mean, if it helps the riding public and it doesn't inconvenience them, and there are tens of thousands of people at risk here, let's do it.
Now, mind you, this is the first time anybody has ever heard of this plan. This is the first time it's come up. Governor Cuomo has just come in and just said, we're doing this plan. Just like that. The big problem is, they have people from Cornell and Columbia with this new sort of construction method that they're going to go ahead and bring up the cables with fiber optic cables and wire in order to move it up, and they can be able to work on it while service is going through, and maybe get this in through some sort of timetable between 15 to 18 months. No clue what that really is going to be in the long set, but what's going to happen, I have no clue. And it looks like, people don't really know what's going on either, because again, they've been prepared for months to shut down the Canarsie Tunnel in order to get everything built up over here. This has been a complete confusion between the MTA, between the governorship, between the city of New York, and the people of New York, because that's really, who really matters. These are the people that's using it. For people who are New Yorkers, or people who use the subway every day, basically, as Cuomo says, subway riders are sick of being lied to and jerked around. Again, this is another way to jerk them one way to the other. So, how can you tell that? By the way, we're jerking around another way. Again, if this plan works, it will be great. But knowing the way the communication that's going around now with MTA, between the governorship, prepare for the worst, guys. So I don't know. We don't know. So again, this is news has just come out of nowhere. No shutdown for the New York City Transit L train. This was on Railway Age. I'll also be putting some of the links to these stories below, because it's pretty interesting to see all the different views coming from here. And even what's the reaction of this? Because I went on Twitter to see the L train shut down. People have been really confused about this. Look at this. 3 years of advocacy, 30-plus workshop, hundreds of businesses and residents weighing in for what? Governor doesn't listen. I want a new news with a modicum of understanding of local politics. So again, people have been putting in their input, preparing for this, and all of a sudden, they're calling it the apocalypse, some of them. So all this news has been really, really disturbing. Especially for people who have been part of the MTA. They didn't know that this was happening. This was just something that the governor's signing this and we're done. So again, really, really, really disconcerting. I do have to agree with that. It is disconcerting. Again, if the plan works, it'll be great, but the communication between the two, not too well. What do you guys think in the comments below? Let's go ahead and check that out. The L train looks nice. Well, the train that we have on the thumbnail, that's going to be the new R221, I believe that's going to be the new train that they're getting ready for New York come 2020 something. Let me see. Highcast Infrastructure. I have the shirt Demetrius is wearing. It's the best looking shirt on the line. Thank you so much, Highcast. Again, we're going to be updating a little bit of our shirts around as well. If there's any other ideas that you guys have, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Let me see. Yeah, in Brooklyn or in Queens. This is so this train is from the L train. It goes between Brooklyn to Manhattan. So the two boroughs that it goes into. So is everyone leaving Willie less now since the change? Well, the change came, 3 days ago? So I'm not sure if everyone's leaving Williamsburg. I'm not quite sure what this will change. Thought a complete shutdown might have people moving into Crown Heights. Now things have changed again. Everything changes in a New York minute, Jay. Everything changes. And before Genoan Bridge collapse, but with a New York subway. Let's hope not. Taxpayers are going to love it, or not. I don't think so. Let's see. Anything other else? I'm confused. Yeah, we are confused. Everybody's confused over in New York. Even my family over there is confused. We don't know what's going on, but that's how it is. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments below. Be sure to look into there and see what else is going on. The only thing there's this little silver lining over here when it comes to the MTA. So Andy Byford is the new president of the MTA. He's came in at the beginning of 2018, and he's been doing pretty good with the MTA. He's been trying to get up operations. He's been trying to put in accountability for station management. So a lot of the stuff that he's been doing has been really, really good. So I think it's something that's really going to be good for New York. Really good for everybody else in there. So, I mean, you can see from here, it's been really good for New York, I think, when it comes to transit. Because the other thing I like about him is that he'll go into the stations, or he'll go and ride on the trains, he'll ride on the buses and ask people what their opinions are on the ride, what their opinions are on everything else. So it's really good. So that's what I think. Let me pause the music over here because it's a little bit distracting when it comes to lyrics. That's why I picked Synthwave, because most of them doesn't even have lyrics. Let's see. We got a comment from AUP123. Have you been researching Virgin and its current and previous rail operations? Yes, I have been doing a lot of research into that. In fact, gotta say a little bit apologies for our British friends over in Britain. I've actually gotten a lot of books now on British rail operations. I got some on Branson. I've had this one for years though. Screw It, Let's Do It by Richard Branson. Good little business book if any of you guys or anything on life. Really good. Pick it up. It's pretty cheap on Amazon for used. I remember getting it, I think, like 5 years ago. It was like $5 or something like that. Not even. Go ahead and get it. But there have been a lot of books I've been going on to learn about British Railways. I got this one by Christian Wolmar, Broken Rails, on privatization, which has been pretty interesting so far because privatization over in Britain hasn't been too well, especially with the accident that they had over there. And when you have two separate, basically a gajillion separate companies managing everything, you have Railtrack now, Network Rail, who owns the tracks, and then the operators who owns the trains and the operations are completely separate companies. So you have, again, a disconnect in communication in there. And then we have, let me see, some of the books that I got over here from British Rail. Another one from Christian Wolmar, which is pretty interesting. Driverless Cars on a Road to Nowhere. That one is going to be used. We're doing a video this month as well on the automobile lie we've been sold. That's going to be pretty interesting. Let me see. Comments over here. With the shutdown, does this mean that Amtrak needs to be self-sufficient since the money tap has now been closed? So yeah, we're in the middle of a government shutdown here in the United States, if you guys didn't know. Amtrak, I don't think they're going to be shut down. They're still running. In terms of self-sufficiency, right now, since for 2017, they were able to get in 95% of the operating revenue, which is pretty exciting. And I believe for this year, that probably will be able to cover a good amount of that as well. So I think in terms of self-sufficiency, they're doing really, really well on that. So hopefully Amtrak is turning around. We'll see how well that goes on to that. We'll talk about Amtrak a little bit later into here. But again, so far, back on MTA, I do think Andy Byford's pretty good. Pretty similar to sort of David Gunn in terms of MTA, because David Gunn's one of my favorite MTA presidents, rail-related people, as you can tell. He was also part of Amtrak. There's some things I disagreed with him on Amtrak, but he was pretty tough cookie when it came to Amtrak and trying to get funding for Amtrak, because he said it was not going to be sufficient without proper funding with the different presidents. So, and that was the reason why they got him out of there, because they couldn't stand him, because he was pretty tough on that. But again, somebody be interested in interviewing for the club if I ever get a chance to get to talk to him and get to contact him. I believe right now he's in Canada, Nova Scotia, so that'll be interesting to see if we can get that. Again, there have been some more changes when it comes to also back over in the tri-state area. We have a new president, senior vice president for NGT, New Jersey Transit. So again, everything's sort of changing up right now here. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. So let's go on to the next. Again, what are your thoughts on this? For the L train, I think right now what's going on. Again, it's going to be a little bit more time to see what really happens, what's going to happen, and where this is going to settle. Once the dust settles, if this is going to be a good thing for New York, if they're going to get the tunnel built on time, which they probably won't, because that's the way things are built over here. What's the budget going to be? What's the schedule going to be? So unless we get more details from that, and once all the agencies come back together from holiday breaks, because it's still about 2 weeks here. So tomorrow, Monday, is usually going to be the full work day. So let's see if this works. Let's see back in the comics. Thomas T. Production. Do you think Amtrak will improve? I do think it's improving, and we're going to be talking about that with Amtrak's recent purchase with the Siemens Chargers. So that's going to be pretty exciting to see, especially with the new presidents that Amtrak has been getting and changing their operations. If the unions are upset, that means it's a good thing. that's in my view. Like I said, I'm pretty old school, paleoconservative when it comes to economics. So that's my take on it, which is kind of weird for somebody in the infrastructure space, but that's me. Let me see. Matthew Finney, note about privatization in the UK. Everything is disconnected and the government is making it a bidding war for the franchise. Also, the funding is getting cut and prices have been going up a lot. That's what I've been reading about. So it's, like I said, it's pretty alarming. And for privatization here in the United States, that's something by all means and accounts, all of us should want to avoid doing privatization the wrong way. I think privatization is a great thing if done correctly, like they did over in Japan. We showed in our last video the amount of upgrades that Japan was able to do because of privatization, because they were able to go ahead and change up their operations to be able to get money back and be able to separate basically a large business, taking massively the whole entire country into separate regions in order to operate depending on that. So that's, again, it's something that could really work here in the United States. Especially the United States, we're much more privy to privatization, not too much to government funding and running it through. And I think that's something that's going to stay in here. Even, I don't think the demographic change is really going to change it that much. And things are starting to change in the Trump presidency really quickly in the way people are living and thinking as well. Let's see. They're going to just postpone the works and launch constantly new beautiful CGI images of the projects after 2020 elections, Ruben. That's what Ruben said. By the way, Ruben's pretty good. He's on a pretty active member and moderator on our Facebook group for American Rail Club. So if you're on our Facebook group, be sure to give him a shout out, give him a hi, give him a thumbs up. So again, it's been really good over there. Stefan N lives in New York. Let's see. And the L line, use the L line frequency. My problem is Cuomo's timing. That's correct. Yeah, Cuomo's timing has been awful with this. The tunnel renovations was originally supposed to cost $900 million, but since the new plan was announced, yeah, we don't know yet. We just want it done already. Yeah, that's the sad thing about it, Stefan. I mean, Sandy was 2012. We're already into 2019. This hasn't gotten fixed yet. So I mean, I feel you. I feel you. This is the sad thing when it comes to government-run projects in this country. Things really take way too long to get done, and that's really a problem when it comes to this. I mean, privatization in the country, again, it's a double-edged sword. You can do it right, or you can do it really wrong and get disasters like what happened over in Britain. But over here in the United States, I mean, we have projects like Brightline, we have Texas Central Railway. I think later on in the future, especially come the next decade, is when we're really going to start to see a change for the better, for privatization in rail. That's something that could be really, really settled for sure. Highcast Infrastructure just donated $5. Thank you so much. Again, this really keeps the channel up. We've been pushing out more content, pushing out more better looking content as well. I've been getting that a lot and feedback on the content that has been increasingly getting better. So again, hopefully I want to do more videos. I want to go out to more places. I want to interview more people to get their thoughts on high-speed rail, on transit, on infrastructure building, on transportation. That's really what this channel is all about. That's what we really want to do. And I think the next interview I want to put on there, and I think we're working on really well between the communication that's been going back and forth, is with Texas Central Railway. So hopefully the next interview that we get on, it's going to be face-to-face, hopefully. So let me hopefully get that going and get that through between the next 2 or 3 months. That's going to be really exciting. Let me see some other conversations onto here before we go to the next story. Let me see. Are you aware of the new private players in continental Europe like NTV Italy, Regio Czechia? Yes, I am. Especially a very big fan of NTV and Italo trains. That's really my. I'm really a big fan of that. In fact, I kind of want to make a trip over to Italy to go ahead and do that and compare both the Frecciarossa and Italo, because I mean, to see the difference between that, I mean, you have the government-run Frecciarossa, which can all of a sudden you have to have updates on the website to know when strikes are going to happen for their workers. That's the funny thing about it. But for MTV, a lot of people have been praising it. The service has been better. It's been much more punctual. Again, that's the difference you get with privatization. Now, again, the big deal when it comes to privatization, especially for rail infrastructure, is the building of the actual physical infrastructure. That's the big problem when it comes to that, because it's a real big money drain. But again, as we can see, Japan, they were able to pay back the debt in just 10 years for the Shinkansen. The problem was that JNR wasn't able to become self-sufficient, was because a lot of the rural lines that the government was forcing them to build wasn't making money. Again, this was a lot of the information came from this book, Japanese National Railways, Its Breakup and Privatization, which has been really great. I read through it during the break. Its Breakup and Privatization by Yoshiyuki Kasai. So again, really good book here. If you guys just want to, I mean, if you do, just skim through the intro, skim through a little bit of it. But the intro really gives a really good preface to what really gave to the problems at JNR. And why it was able to go to privatization, and how it was able to go to privatization well, because that's the big difference between Japan and Britain. Why privatization worked in Japan, why it didn't over in Britain and in the UK. So that's really where it went over there. Let's see what else in the comments. Okay, let's see. None of your beeswax what my name is. All right, I didn't ask, but that's a good name right there. The issue with privatization is that companies really don't care about the well-being of the customers. They only care about making money and will cut corners to save money. Not entirely true. And that's the thing, because you have companies that get really complacent, big companies especially, But really, companies that really do well and really care about the customers, of course, there's plenty of companies like that. Virgin that really cares about the customers, or so they say, and so they are. I mean, you have companies like that. Even an airline company, I like Delta, because Delta is really good when it comes to their customer service. And if I try to fly Delta whenever I can. I try to avoid the budget airlines, which try to cut corners on everything. But again, people like things that last and do well. That's why over here, people like to buy things that are either healthier for them or better. That's what really happens. They think privatization is really the big picture aspect of when things, not when things, but how things are going to change in this country. Because you have the government has to do things for a service. And they're going to cut corners as much as they can just to provide that service. And that's why you get, if trains go late, well, we provided the service. It doesn't have to be punctual. That's the main difference between that. And I think that's really what's really going to change. And Amtrak is changing and doing better now is because they're trying to run it like a private company. You have a lot of these airline CEOs that are now being a part of Amtrak, and they're trying to change the service to be better. Again, that's another thing we can't knock the airlines on. I mean, if they're doing a good job on that, then they are. The airline industry in itself, I think, is a problem that needs to be fixed, though, in the country, especially with a lot of the subsidies that they're taking. It's not, again, that's not fair, but that's what happens when you get the government involved into that sort of thing. Okay, let's see. Why so much information about Japan? What sets it apart from the rest of the UK? Again, the reason why Japan is really the crown jewel of what we call rail transportation is Japan did privatization right. The UK didn't do privatization correctly, and that's the reason why. Again, we can put that on the we had that on the previous video on the Shinkansen, so please go ahead and do it. Yeah, let me see. Stefan, I agree. It makes great videos. Yeah, we do. Let me see. There's a video I encourage you to watch about the original Shinkansen and its global impact by a guy named Mustard on YouTube. Yeah, that's another good video as well. If you guys haven't seen the channel, the Mustard channel, they did a video just recently on the Shinkansen, which is really good. They went a lot into the technical aspect of it. Our video went more into the personal, more business aspect of to it, and how the experience is. But his channel and his video, when it comes to the technical aspect, I think is the best done so far on YouTube. So go ahead and check out that video. I'm sure if you just look up Shinkansen, it's probably the first video that comes up. Let me see. Highcast infrastructure, not to be a shill for my own Discord server, but what do you think of Transport Central? What do you think are some of the notable differences from the ARC Facebook group? Discord is different from Facebook, I do gotta say. The thing I like about Discord is that you have the chat right there. People are, right on there. It's not as, I say, stressful as Facebook. There's not as much arguing, I would say, back and forth. And definitely with Discord, it's a lot more of the younger crowd, rather than, I guess, some of the boomer crowd, as we call it, over in Facebook. So it's been really cool. So definitely I do enjoy Transport Central. And I hope to make it more of a part of the channel here, and more of a part of transportation in general. It's become sort of a platform when it comes to speaking and talking about transportation in the future. Let's go to the next story here, because this is something I've been really looking into and really interested about, and that's automation. Especially in the rail industry. When it comes to automobiles, automation, I think, is still really far away. And if you checked out Christian Wolmar's book on driverless cars on a road to nowhere, again, this book, very short read. You can get this done in a day if you get it. I can probably put up more information in the comments. But automation in the rail industry is really where it's going to change, because for self-driving cars, it's a lot different to get self-driving cars done, because there's a lot more factors in self-driving cars. You have other cars, you have other people on the road. What happens if a bike comes into it? How's the self-driving car going to react? How is a self-driving car going to tell the difference between a ball coming over the road and a raccoon or a child? That's the thing when it comes to driverless cars. That's really going to be a difference. Again, there have been some changes and there have been some upgrades. And I recently just saw a video of a Tesla Model 3 that was able to self-correct itself in, I believe, in Canada on black ice. It skidded out and it was able to recorrect itself. Again, something that most humans can't really do pretty well. So I was pretty surprised that a car could be able to do that, but. The thing is that to get that technology up to thousands and millions of cars is going to be a great expense, and it's going to be a lot of time before that happens. Automation for rails, though, is already here. You can have automated trains. Rio Tinto, if you guys aren't aware, it's a big mining and rail company around the world, and a lot of their operations comes out from Australia, which Australia has a huge mining industry in Australia. So they're able to successfully deploy their auto haul technology. So what this means is that now you're going to have freight trains that are basically running by themselves. That is incredibly insane. They do call it the world's largest robot. And again, it's true because look at the amount of haulage they're doing this. It's 28,000 tons. Between close to about 150 miles or 200 miles between Tom Price Mine and Cape Lambert. So that's insane. And now that they've already gotten that done, that's going to be incredible. So for freight rail, automation is going to be pretty big. But we're also going to see it in passenger rail as well. So here's the East Japan Railway Company testing now driverless cars on the Yamanote line. So if you guys are not familiar with Japan, their Yamanote line is basically a circular line around the Tokyo peripheral in inner Tokyo. So it's a really crowded line. There's millions of people that go on it every day. It's run by the East Japan Railway Company. Again, they're trying to see if they can use this for some of the other routes that they have that aren't really making money. The rural routes. Again, once Japan privatized itself, they shifted these routes to these companies, these private companies, JR East, JR Central, JR West, JR Kyushu, JR Hokkaido. All those companies got control of all the lines, whether they were lucrative or not, whether they were rural or urban. And the problem is a lot of the rural lines do not make money. I mean, you had a line over in Japan, I think, that closed in the last 2 years. There was only one person that was using it. It was basically a girl who was going to school, the only one in her village. And once she stopped using the train just they finally stopped the service for that train, and they even had a little ceremony and everything, and I think a little cake for it too. But that's the problem, especially the way that Japan is changing, and really a lot of the world is changing too. We're urbanizing really quickly in the world, which I really don't think is a great idea. And I think that we should have connections between urban, suburban, and rural areas, especially through rail. Especially in places that are cheaper to live in. I mean, because some people don't really want to live in the city. Some people want to live in places that are suburban and then take to the city. But the problem is that here in the United States, we've had this sort of rat race phenomena that has stuck with us for the last 50 years of living somewhere an hour away, then taking your car and driving all the way over there. Whereas you can take a train or something like that. But the only place that's really you can do something like that is someplace in, of course, New York. I mean, you can live in Long Island, take the Long Island Railroad into Grand Central, and be in New York less than an hour. Some places maybe San Francisco, LA maybe, and now Brightline has opened that option up to people again, but still in a very limited area, because you have to be living in those urban centers in order to take Brightline. But again, this is an option that's opening up now to have automated trains to be able to run, especially in places that don't take that many people. You can decrease the cost, you can increase service, and again, this is private companies that are doing it again. So you can knock private companies all you want, but automation is being done because of private companies. That's the reason why it's getting done. If it wasn't for these private companies, this wouldn't be happening. That it always have to be going and looking for the next best thing in order to stay concurrent to the customers, to stay on top when it comes to their service. So I think it's a really good thing, and I think automation, it is going to be automation in the rail industry is going to be a bigger factor than in the automobile industry, and that's going to be the big change in that. Let's check the comments here and let's see what else we've been going through, because again, I've been hammering on this, but trying to see and keep you guys involved, because you guys have been really well, and I love the questions so far that's been coming up, because it's been really giving out some great conversations. Yashio, what do you think of JR Hokkaido abandoning half of its rail network? It had to happen. Hokkaido still, again, is developing. I think now with the Shinkansen going into Hokkaido, that's going to be a big change in order to change that up. In order to get more people into there, especially more of the country. Japan's population isn't as falling as most people say it is. That's really a big misconception that a lot of people say, that I really hate hearing that. Japan's population is actually increasing faster than some places in Europe, like Belgium, whose population is going down pretty quickly, especially when it comes to birth rate. Japan has a higher birth rate than I think like 5 other European countries. So when it comes to urbanization and when it comes to where people are going to live, the train is really where it's going to change. And once you have the connection to the Shinkansen and of the bullet train, you create more mega cities. This especially where you see places like in China, where people can now live somewhere that used to be 12 hours away by car, and it's now 4 hours now with high-speed rail over in China. And then you have the connections with the transit that makes going in through the city really fast and really easy. So that's where I think it's really going to happen, with high-speed rail as the backbone, and then you have transit as the backbone of the urban area. That's where it's really going to happen. Let me see the other questions. Jason Norris, UK railways built in the Victorian era. Japan has built new ways for a new era. Yeah, that was the other thing that, again, that's the sort of problem that we have over here in the United States. A lot of our railway has been built past the Civil War and into maybe stopping into the 1920s, and we haven't really had a big, massive build in railways since then. That's how it's really started. I've noticed something in the U.S., and it's a slight tram streetcar revival. Yeah, we've been seeing more streetcars and trams so far. I know in Fort Lauderdale we have the Wave that's starting to be built, or not starting to be built, still in the plans. They're trying to get started at some point, I believe, next year. What do I think of the revival? I think it's a good thing, especially to get people out of their cars. If you guys have ever been to South Florida recently, it's starting to grow really quickly. The problem is, again, we have no space to build any more roads. That's where you're going to see everywhere else in the rest of the United States. We have no place to build more roads. People have to still get around. Population still has to increase. Business still has to flow somehow. And even if you don't have a population increase, who's to say that the only way to get around somewhere is to go 2 miles in your car? Why can't we go around in, I don't know, bikes or something like that, or go in trains? So that's where that's going to happen, is we're seeing a different change, especially in the millennial generation, of how to get around. And especially when millennials have been traveling around so far and seeing other countries like in Japan, how they're getting around. That's really where it's going to change. Let's see what have we here. Let me see. Yeah, the Tube has had automated trains for a while now over in the UK. Let's see. Going on in the comments over here. Not a fan of automated trains, but automatic train operation is something I could stand behind. Let me see. CTR Lee. Some far-right think tanks hails autonomous vehicles as the be-all, end-all situation to our traffic woes. It's not at all, and you're correct on that. And as a reason, we shouldn't be stuck to 19th century technology. That's the thing. Automated cars and automated vehicles is not an end-all solution. And again, we're going to see that in the next video that I'm going to do. Again, if you guys want to learn more about why autonomous cars are going to be the future, check out this book by Christian Wilmore. I think I'm going to see if I could try to get him onto the channel, because he's got some really great insight into what's going on in transit. Really do. I totally disagree with trains without crews. Some people, I mean, if that's your opinion, I'm okay with that. I respect that. People still need jobs. But again, if there's some places where they don't need to work, and there's places that, can work for trains. Let's say, some people don't want to be doing a rural train network or driving a train through that. We can have, again, a system running that. Let me see, Hong Kong, yeah, that's the other thing. They do have the trains monitored. And the test over here in Japan, they have the train running by itself, but somebody's still in the cabin, looking at it to make sure that it's all going well. They're just looking at this and, saying, okay, well, it's going. Everything's going so far, so good. Check mark, check mark, check mark. That's really how it's going. And if by any chance it starts to get out of there, they'll go ahead and, do a little bit of adjustments. But that's how it really goes. Especially all these driverless cars, they do have the same thing. They always have somebody inside it. There's no car that's at all running by itself at all. Let's see, anything else in the comments before we go to the next part? Please move on. Don't dwell on topics too much. Yeah, I'm sorry, Amtrak enthusiasts. I'm trying to move on to that. In fact, Amtrak enthusiast, we're going to go on to Amtrak itself. So this is our final story onto here before we go on to the question and answer session. Amtrak has ordered their long distance Chargers, so say goodbye to the F40, say goodbye to the GE Genesis. In about a couple of years, those trains are going to be gone finally. I'm tired of seeing them. I'm sure a lot of you guys may not be tired of seeing them, but I myself, man, they're old, they're getting stinky. We need something new, and these Siemens Chargers are really great trains. If you guys have ever ridden on Brightline, you can be able to see them there for yourself. They already have them in California as well. So again, these are really good trains. They're running the Cummins QSK95 engine, which is a pretty good engine for trains, for diesel. It's about like 4,400 horsepower. It's really quiet compared to other engines. So again, and Siemens does a really good job with the trains, the technology they put behind it, and the amount of work that they do in the aftermarket to keep these trains up. Siemens does a really good job into that. So again, these are the new 75 locomotives that Amtrak has ordered, the Siemens Chargers. These are incredible trains that we have here in the United States now that have a capability of going 140 miles an hour. But the thing is, with 4,400 horsepower, and again, how small they are as well compared to the older GE Genesis trains, the P40 and P42s. They can haul just as much and go a little bit faster, and they can be able to be more mobile. So that's really good. Let me see what's going in the comments. Oh boy, we're going to have some angry foamers from Ruben. Yeah, some people are going to miss those P40s, but I'm not. I'm sure some of you will agree with me. I'm not. Let me see. Some other questions over here. Do you think future cities should be designed like the original plan for Epcot, as the basic foundation for each neighborhood and radiating commuter lines from the central train station? I honestly believe they should be. Walt Disney was way ahead of his time when it came to that, and it's a shame that didn't happen. Again, we do have a video on Walt Disney and futurism on this channel, so go ahead and check that out. Again, it's on our channel. See, next question. How can we discuss automated trains if our infrastructure can barely handle trains with drivers? It's going to be the next thing. So if we want to get already set on the ground running with infrastructure that's going to work, it's good enough to start having in already what's current right now. Again, I don't think we should start out back to steam and then go to diesel and then go to electricity to start out a rail line. We have to go out to whatever's at the moment current, not just current, but something that's going to be future proof for years to come. How were Japanese cities laid out that you found most efficient? I think I put that on the channel as well. I was really surprised about the space that you can walk in, the amount of walkability of these cities. That's really what I liked about them. There wasn't really an order to it. It wasn't grid or concentric like that. It was really just, all over the place. But again, it was something that was still seamless and smooth to get around. And again, the walkability of these cities was really incredible to get around through. Let's see what else on this channel. I see automation much how like the airlines have implemented it. Automation plus monitoring, train staff on flight to manage it. There's little talk. Wait, let me see. I think I just lost it there. There's little talk of flights without pilots, same with trains. That's correct, Andy Crawford. When it comes to automation, again, it's not a complete replacement for people It is a supplement to help make service better and more efficient. That's what it is. All right. Let's see. So again, when it comes to Amtrak and the new Siemens Chargers, again, this is something that's good for Amtrak, especially outside of city corridors. The problem is when it comes to diesel, is that diesel at some point is going to be, and I just mentioned this in the last several minutes, when it comes to getting ready for the next thing, getting ready for what's new, getting prepared to have your infrastructure ready and future-proof for, let's say, the next 100 years. At some point, diesel is going to be out of sync. It's not going to be part of how we get around and how we power our infrastructure anymore. I've read there was an issue in Trains magazine on December 2018. It was talking about the end of diesel. It's a breakthrough when it comes to batteries and hydrogen power, especially if you see the new Corellia island that Alstom created over in Europe, that's running over in Berlin. It's a hydrogen train, hydrogen powered. When it comes to freight railroads, I don't think it's going to be as sudden when it comes to changing up and going from diesel over to electricity or hydrogen or some other form of power. But especially in the passenger realm, we've already seen that electricity is going to be the way to get around. Even see in Britain right now, they're going to be banning by 2040 diesel-only trains. So it's only going to be trains that can run on hybrid systems. Again, that's diesel and electric, as well as trains that can run on electricity or hydrogen or anything else. So by again, the UK is already looking further ahead to 2040 of banning out and phasing out diesel trains. So electrification, using different sources of fuel like hydrogen, that's really is going to be changing up. That's what we're going to see here in the United States. Ways of propulsion is really where it's going to change the way how we move around, whether it's through maglev, whether it's through electricity, or whether it's through hydrogen. I think especially in the United States, we do have a chance to have hydrogen-powered trains. That hasn't been tested yet so far, but with Alstom, what they're doing over there, I think that's something that can be brought over here. Again, in the freight realm, I'm not too wild about it, and I don't think it's going to happen because diesel still has a much higher power input per space of what it brings out. When it comes to hydrogen, I don't think it's to that point yet that it can be able to provide the amount of torque in order to take tons and tons of haulage, let's say, thousands of miles. That's still something that's going to be further away from here. But when it comes to that, again, I do think there's going to be a change, and in this century, diesel is going to die out at some point. So again, that's where we're changing up to. Let's see what's over here in the comments. Let's see. You should check out Amsterdam with walkability and a lot of green space, happier people sharing public space and saving money by not being car dependent. Sure, I probably would check out Amsterdam. That probably would be on my list. Thank you for the suggestion. Let's see. Those new battery trains look promising. Again, yeah. I think actually that's it's good that you mentioned that, because in freight, when it comes to adding on batteries and supercapacitors, that's another option that can be when it comes to hybrid trains in the freight railroad. And whichever company starts making that is going to be really, really set. I do think there is going to be a company that will do that. Probably it's going to be somewhere between like MTU, Rolls-Royce. Well, GE now is not out of the rail business, but Wabtec still now owns the GE rail business. What was formerly GE Rail is now Wabtec. They're probably going to be doing that because I can see they're ahead of the game already. Let me see. Cummins, not so much. I can tell you that they're kind of slow when it comes to getting things done. New Chargers look so awkward with those old cars. Yeah, it does. It kind of does. Thorium-powered Chargers, of course. Why electrify when you can use a GoFundMe energy project? That's funny. Or we can use solar roads. That'll be another thing. They just cover people movers. No, not just people movers. Again, transportation. in other forms when it comes to maglev or when it comes to rail or other stuff like that. That's another thing that we cover. The new urbanism movement believes people are moving out of the suburbs and moving back to the cities. Young people don't mind living in condos as long as they have the amenities of the suburb. That's from Mohammed Qureshi. I believe that's correct, especially now with this new movement. I think people are going to do that. And it's also the urbanization movement also moving into, let's say, the suburbs and making them more, I would just say more hip. That's what the kids are using these days. All right. So I think we're set on that. It's right now we're coming up to the close of the hour of our live session. Tell me what you guys thought about it. Leave your suggestions in the comments below. What should we do next time? Again, I'll try to come up with see if we can follow up with some script, and maybe we can come up with, I don't know, maybe some phone-in calls. If we can do something like that, that would be great. We can probably do some interviews with other people on here. That would be good as well. What do you guys think? What should be the next thing we should focus on the channel? Have some ideas already for some idea video lists that we're doing on here. Some of the things we are going to be talking about coming up are going to be Amtrak's turnaround. That's going to be interesting. And Amtrak changing around. It's cool. Okay, perfect. I'm glad to see that the stream was cool so far. Let me see. Quite as interesting. It certainly surprised me. Thank you, Ruben. Let me see. Many railroads thought the future was direct electric in the 30s, and yeah, it was. The Milwaukee Road was actually very famous for that. We actually did an interview speaking about that. I have to see if I can find that. I'll try to put it on here. I haven't been putting it on so far. Let me see. Highcast infrastructure donated because you finally got a good internet connection. Yes. Not in South Florida right now. Back over my temporary dwelling in Indiana. So the internet here is surprisingly better and much more stable. So definitely good things happening over here. So that's good. Let me see. Some of the other things we're talking about. China high-speed rail. That's another thing I've been getting a lot of requests for, and going to be doing something with that. So that's going to be really, really funny to get into, because again, China, as much as it's building, there's a lot of problems with China. If you read a book, it's called China's The Great Wall of Debt. China's a bubble ready to blow at some point. Hopefully not so bad for the rest of us, but it's gonna happen at some point. Let me see. Ruben Van der Rohe, we never deserved the Milwaukee Road. Yeah, it was too good for us. The road we didn't deserve. Let me see. Yes, for those of you that are joining thank you, Ruben, for mentioning that. For those of you who are joining us on the Facebook group, please to go ahead and fill in the questionnaire. We need to see who's not spam and who's not a scam. We need to get in there to make sure that we filter out the correct people to get into there. How much faster trains need to get so they can compete with planes between mid-sized cities? That's from Mohammed. Again, it depends on how the length of between the two cities, because anything lower than 600 miles is where trains, high-speed rail is really going to do well. In terms of speed, let's say if there was a marginal increase in the speed, let's say if trains started running at 250 miles an hour instead of 200, maybe that will start to increase to maybe 700 miles. But again, that's something we'll see later on. Again, I'm glad. Thank you guys for the comments. Thank you guys for, again, keep up the amazing work. And thank you guys so much for getting this channel to where it is right now. So far, we're at 7,800 subscribers. That is amazing so far. I think we're now the biggest high-speed rail channel on YouTube. We have to keep it up. Not just high-speed rail, but we're trying to get to be the biggest rail channel on YouTube. That's going to be our motto right here. We're going to be the biggest rail and transportation channel on YouTube. That's going to be our end goal. So how we're going to start with that goal? We're going to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of January. If we can do that, we're doing pretty well, and we're going to be on our way to do that. So again, guys, be sure to let your friends know. Be sure to let them know about this channel. Share it. Share the content that we have. Share the information that we have, the videos and everything. because this would be, again, to be able to get people and change the way that we think about rail in this country, how we think about transportation in general in this country. There needs to be another way. The roads and the cars, as much as we love cars, I mean, hell, I love my cars. I mean, half the things I have over here is, little die-cast cars and everything. Here's a Gumpert Apollo that I have right next to me over here. Is one of my favorite. Even the car that I have is a Lexus IS300. Even next to me, I even have a little die-cast version of that. That's it's one of my favorite Japanese cars. I even own one, race it sometimes. But the thing is, we need another way to get around. When we think seriously about the way we live, we need to have another option. And that other option is rail. That's the way that it's been being done in other countries. It's proven itself to be a lucrative mode of transportation. And that's the way it's going to get done in the future. So thank you guys so much. I also want to give a shout out to those of you who have supported us on Patreon. That's been a really big help to help this channel get going. So we do have our patrons over here. Let me see if I can go ahead and give a shout out to them, because again, you guys have been doing so well to get us moving. So again, thank you so much for Emerson McNearney, Highcast Infrastructure, Ricardo Noel, John P. Manley, John Bauer Buis, Johannes Abransky, C. Jonathan Sun, let me see, and Will Bradbury. Thank you so much, you guys, for supporting the Patreon, keeping us on board. Again, I'm going to also put a link. Let me actually start putting links in the comments below. This is our Patreon over here. I'm going to put it right here. That is our Patreon link. If you guys want to help the future and keep us going, it is right on there. Again, we're going to keep doing more videos on here. We're going to have another video out this week by Friday. We're going to be talking about the Hyperloop. That's going to be our next video. It's going to be debunking the myths of the Hyperloop and finally showing the truth about the Hyperloop, that it's not as all cracked up as it is to be. That's going to be fun to see. Again, if you guys want to help, it's on our Patreon. The link is right there in the description and also in the chat if you want to help us out. Again, we're getting up there. We want to get to 10,000 subscribers, and we want to get more content out to there, more quality content. So if you guys want to go ahead and help to the future, Patreon's on there. You can also get a t-shirt. And if you guys don't want to spend any money, that's a-okay. You can also just subscribe to the channel and share the videos. That's the best way to get the word around. All right, I'm going to be here for about a couple more minutes, answer questions, and then we'll be out of the station at 5:05. Again, let's see any questions on here. Would you make an episode regarding Sapsan in Russia? Again, that's the Russian high-speed rail. Probably would be interested in that. Actually, let me see if I can add it onto the list and see if I can get that done. Thank you for that, Benjamin. That's a good suggestion right there. Thank you. Let's see. You should make a video to show lawmakers. That's from Mohammed. Yeah, that's what we try to do. We've actually had some lawmakers that have seen our videos, so that's been really good so far. Jason Norris, would you go to the National Railway Museum in the UK? I would absolutely love to go to the National Railway Museum in the UK. I know that's a sister museum to the Saitama Railway Museum, so I know they have a lot of other stuff there, especially more pertinent to Western Rail, so definitely I do want to check that out. Andy Crawford, I look forward to the video on Hyperloop, and while there's some difficulty with the technology, I would not count it out. The technology is not the main concern on my end, Andy. I think it's more when it comes to the business end and actually the procurement end. That's really where it's going to change things up. Again, I'm going to make a little bit more, it's going to be a little bit more clear in the video once that gets done, but that's really where the Hyperloop is going to be done. Will you make a video on the enemies of TCR, Halliburton as an example? Definitely, that's definitely going to be on the list. Right now I'm trying to schedule an interview to go over to Texas to go ahead and check out the project and go ahead and interview some of the key folks over in Texas. So that's going to be a big thing once that gets settled on done. Maybe as a second sequel to that interview or into that video, we'll go ahead and look into the people that are against Texas Central Railway, because I do think that's, out of all the projects in the country, that is the biggest one right there. Stefan N., what do you think about the short series about the future of subways, metros in cities like London, Paris, and New York City? I think I'm going to join the Facebook group after this. Keep it up. Yeah, I'm actually have an idea. We're ready. I went to New York recently, so I got some videos on the New York Metro and MTA. So definitely that's going to be the first thing I'm going to start out, is doing videos on metros and cities like that. CTR Lee, I agree with you. I love cars, but I also hate traffic. So taking regular people off the roads and leave them to Jeremy Clarkson wannabes is a good idea. More power to you. That's exactly it. I see an increase in requests to join the ARC. Please fill in the questions because I denied majority of the requests because the questions were not answered. That's from Ruben. Again, Ruben is our head admin over in the Facebook group. So again, he's the gatekeeper to making sure our group stays happy and healthy. So if you are joining the Facebook group, again, please be sure to leave answers in those questions. All right, everyone, I think that's time for us. It is 5:05. I thank you all for joining this live stream. I think we're going to make this sort of a tradition. Probably can do this every Sunday around 4 to join in on live streams and be doing more to get more information out there on current news for the week, current news for the month, and have it all talk with you guys. So I thank you all for joining us. I thank you all for being a part of the American Rail Club and getting things done in America, around the world, and getting on board onto the rail evolution in this country. So thank you all so much. Again, I'll try to answer some little bit more questions over here in the comments, but as for the live stream, we are at the station. We are set. It is 5:05 and we are done for today. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend, rest of the weekend. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.